Genesis 1, verses 6 through 8. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day." Matthew Henry's commentary. We have here an account of the second day's work, the creation of the firmament, in which, observe, 1, the command of God concerning it. Let there be a firmament, an expansion, so the Hebrew word signifies, like a sheet spread or a curtain drawn out. This includes all that is visible above the earth, between it and the third heavens, the air, its higher, middle, and lower regions, the celestial globe, and all the spheres and orbs of light above. It reaches as high as the place where the stars are fixed, for that is called here the firmament of heaven, verses 14 and 15, and as low as the place where the birds fly, for that also is called the firmament of heaven, verse 20. When God had made the light, he appointed the air to be the receptacle and vehicle of its beams, and to be as a medium of communication between the invisible and the visible world. For though between heaven and earth there is an inconceivable distance, yet there is not an impassable gulf as there is between heaven and hell. This firmament is not a wall of partition, but a way of communication. See Job 26:7, 37:18, Psalm 104:3, Amos 9:6. 2. The creation of it. Lest it should seem as if God had only commanded it to be done and someone else had done it, he adds, "And God made the firmament." What God requires of us, he himself works in us, or it is not done. He that commands faith, holiness, and love creates them by the power of his grace, going along with his word, that he may have all the praise. Lord, give what you command, and then command what you please. The firmament is said to be the work of God's fingers, Psalm 8:3. Though the vastness of his extent declares it to be the work of his arms stretched out, yet the admirable fineness of its constitution shows that it is a curious piece of art, the work of his fingers. 3. The use and design of it, to divide the waters from the waters, that is, to distinguish between the waters that are wrapped up in the clouds and those that cover the sea, the waters in the air and those in the earth. See the difference between these two carefully observed, Deuteronomy 11:10 and 11, where Canaan is upon this account preferred to Egypt, that Egypt was moistened and made fruitful with the waters that are under the firmament, but Canaan with waters from above, out of the firmament, even the dew of heaven, which tarries not for the sons of men, Micah 5:7. God has in the firmament of his power chambers, store chambers, whence he waters the earth, Psalm 104:13, 65:9 and 10. He has also treasures or magazines of snow and hail, which he has reserved against the day of battle and war, Job 38:22 and 23. Oh, what a great God is he who has thus provided for the comfort of all who serve him and the confusion of all who hate him. It is good having him our friend, and bad having him our enemy. 4. The naming of it. He called the firmament heaven. It is the visible heaven, the pavement of the holy city. Above the firmament, God is said to have his throne, Ezekiel 1:26, for he has prepared it in the heavens. The heavens, therefore, are said to rule, Daniel 4:26. Is not God in the height of heaven, Job 22:12? Yes, he is, and we should be led by the contemplation of the heavens that are in our eye to consider our Father who is in heaven. The height of the heavens should remind us of God's supremacy and the infinite distance there is between us and him. The brightness of the heavens and their purity should remind us of his glory and majesty and perfect holiness. The vastness of the heavens, their encompassing of the earth, and the influence they have upon it should remind us of his immensity and universal providence. My translation of Genesis 1:6 through 8. Then God said, "May there be an expanse in the middle of the waters, and may it be a separator between some waters and other waters." So God made the expanse and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. So it was. God called the expanse heavens. There was evening and morning the second day. Dividing and separating, as we've already noted, can be either very useful or it can be very alienating. In this case, we have more of the useful type. If the waters are not separated, then there's no air to breathe. And further than that, separation and division of this useful kind is what priests will do later on in the law of Moses. They divide the world into holy, clean, and unclean, with various actions that can change an item or a person from one category into another. Such work, in other words, continues what God starts here. A second major item here is the foreshadowing of baptism. We could, in fact, call this day's work the baptism of the world. Waters used, the earth is separated from the waters above, just as people are separated from the world when they're baptized. As J.V. Fesco says in his book, Water, Word, and Spirit, there is both a judgment side and a grace side to baptism. And the creation of this bubble of air in the middle of waters can be collapsed again in judgment, as in fact actually happens in the flood. That's the judgment side. The grace side shows itself in how life happens and how it thrives in the air that is created by this separation. In turn, this shows us an aspect of Christ's baptisms that we don't normally contemplate. Yes, Jesus has two baptisms. There's the one in the Jordan River, commissioning him as the Messiah, the Anointed One. But also he talks to his disciple about a future baptism when he asks them, "Can you be baptized with the baptism which I am going to be baptized with?" A future baptism that he must undergo. And he is there talking about his own death on the cross. And Jesus then takes the judgment side of baptism so that what remains for us is grace, not a converting grace, but a sealing grace and a grace of signs.